Hello and welcome to part 5 of Pulling the Perfect Key with Avid, with me, Ben Brownlee from Boris FX. And here is the current state of play. We have made our key, we have done our spill suppression, done our hold in, hold out masks, and done the primary balance as well to try and get the colours and the foreground and background matching a bit better. In this exercise, we are going to be looking at how adding additional elements, namely a lens flare and lighting effects using particles, can help to really tie this scene together. So when we're looking at what we need to help to sell the composite a bit more, I'm always aware of where the lighting is coming from in our foreground image and whether that matches what's happening in the background as well. Here, even though we've flipped things around, there's still probably some stuff that we could do to increase the idea that these actually are in the same scene. We've got quite a strong rim light going across the edge there, so something coming in from the back just really catching the edges of the hair, and that's probably the first thing that I want to try to match between these two. And there's a variety of different ways of solving this problem, of course, but I'm going to use a simple lens flare to do it. So I'm going to add another track just in between the foreground and the background layer, and let's come to my effect palette and go into my continuum lights and look for the lens flare 3D. And let's just dump that in the middle there. And that will automatically add in a filler for me. And I have my lens flare, which I can now move around and do lots of fun stuff with. You can see, even though we're just using the default lens flare as it is, just having that idea of a big, strong light, a bright light coming from behind, actually is already helping to motivate what's going on with the lighting there. This isn't the right flare. We're going to change that. Now, one of the things we haven't looked at with our continuum effects yet is the presets that we have. And we have a variety of different presets in each of our filters. And it can sometimes be a bit tricky to come in and find the one that you're looking for. So I'm going to use Show Effects Browser, and this is going to load up the Continuum Effects Browser where I can just click through and find something that I want to use for my starting point. And there's a few here that I really quite like. Like soft colored flare is probably one of the ones that I go to a lot. I probably go to it actually a little bit too much, but it's probably my favorite starting point for a lot of these effects where I'm trying to get a little bit of haze and a little bit of lighting already in there. But also, diffraction DD is also quite a cool one as well. That's a very different style. We will go with a soft colored fog though. And I'm just going to hit apply on that and bring that in here. I'll move that up here somewhere. Okay, let's customize this a bit more to actually fit in with our scene. We come to the effect editor and come down to flare. The first thing I'm going to do is change my color. I don't want it to be purple. I probably want to find a sort of color that fits in with the scene, or maybe just double click on there and come into the system color. Find something a little bit warmer, maybe not too warm, but something towards the yellow side. There we go. And we'll change the intensity and all the rest of the stuff in a second. I'm also going to turn off almost all the other elements. I'm going to turn off I'll keep the rays on. I like the rays. I'm going to turn off my polygons, turn off my discs, turn off my glows, turn off my chroma fan, and turn off my elliptical, star caustics, chromatic aberration I'll keep on. And I can just come in here and maybe just customize some of the other effects that I have. So the flare intensity, the fog intensity I can turn down. The rays, I can turn that scale up a little bit. And move that off screen. Zoom out even more. Move that off screen a bit. rotate it around so it's fitting in a bit better. There we go. It's looking quite good. Motivate that up above the tree canopy there. Zoom back in. Yeah, that's starting to look all right. Cool. And what else can we do here? Maybe just put a bit of the auto shimmer on. And a bit of flicker as well. So this auto animates as we play it through. Let's close the color stuff down now. There we go. Doesn't, maybe that's a little bit too much on the, maybe that's a little bit too much, especially on the shimmer. We'll take that amount down to about 30. There we go. Just keep that nice and natural. Cool. All right. So we got something happening in the background that's motivating our lights there. Bring that over to the side a bit more, maybe. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Now, I'm going to add another thing over the top as well. And the reason I'm doing this is actually a little bit of a magic trick. If we've got some other elements that are animating or in some ways interacting with the rest of the scene, then that kind of distracts the viewer from maybe focusing a little bit too much on things like edge details or elements that may not be 100%. Now, obviously, because I'm a professional, everything here is 100% right from the very start. Okay, maybe not. But it's little tricks to distract the audience from looking too hard at stuff that isn't working, that actually really helps out. I'm going to come back into my effect palette and I'm going to go to particles and I'm going to use particle illusion. And let me just hit Control or Command Y just to add another layer and put another filler layer over the top with particle illusion. And I'm going to launch particle illusion straight here. And that takes a moment and launches particle illusion in its own UI. If you haven't seen particle illusion before, the name would suggest particle illusion is a particle system that we can do some very interesting particles directly within our Avid. And it's, a lot of it is based on presets and it ships with thousands of presets. In fact, we have so many presets, we've created a new layout to be able to actually look at them in a bit more of a structured sort of way. Some of these are for doing motion background work. So we've got some interesting little motion backgrounds. Or let's actually search in here. So we've got some HUD elements as well. And some natural particle elements. So we have things like rain. Take a look at our rain. So we've got, more graphic styles of rain or some more natural types of rain. So falling rain there, looking pretty nice. Or we want to make someone have a really bad day, we just have a little rain cloud following them over the top. I don't know, it's quite fun. I do actually enjoy this one quite a lot. And we have lighting effects as well. So if I just type in light up here, I'll find one that I quite like, which would be Magic Light Shaft. We have a number of Magic Light Shafts actually, but I think this is the one that I want. So I'm going to come back into my view and just come back into the default mode, and let's see where our Magic Light Shaft is. Yes, Emitters 2020, this is definitely the one. So if I double click on this, it's a line emitter, so I can come in and just draw a couple of points and hit escape, get rid of that. And if I play that back, we can see that over the top of our composite. Let's just play that back over black so you can see that a little bit easier. And you can see it's like a sort of magic light shaft with some dust falling down, which is kind of nice. And even though it's a preset, all of this remained completely customizable. So if I change the angle here, we can swap up the angle of the light that we have. If I change the number, we can get a more powerful light source. Actually, I don't want to change the size. Let's change the zoom to make it just a bit fatter. You can see that even more powerfully now. And we can change color, and we can change all different types of stuff. It remains completely customizable, but that's probably for another time to look a bit more at that. Just going to stretch this out just a little bit, and I will take the opacity down so it's not quite as strong. Leave that to about 50. And when I'm happy with that, I'm just going to hit apply. And it takes us back into our main Avid screen, and I can just come in and preview what's going on now. I can just scrub that through and see what's going on there. Now, the nice thing about this is that we still have complete control over all these parameters without having to go back and forth into particle illusion all the time. So if I come into my particle properties, I'll maybe preload a few frames so our animation starts before the first frame. I can take down the number or the size. I can even add things like glows here as well. But I'm just going to come into composite and just take the opacity down a little bit there. I can choose a different composite mode. Set this to alpha plus apply mix. So this means that if I've got a plate, scrub that through there. If I've applied this to a clip, I can actually use different blend modes directly on that clip. But as I've applied it to a filler layer, that doesn't really make too much of a difference for us. And come in and move this over a little bit as well. And again, we can do that without actually having to come back into the particle illusion interface. I can just transform either the emitter or the world. And I'll just transform the emitter a little bit here and just move that over the top. Just so it's hitting him a little bit more. There we go. And that's starting to come together quite nicely. And we can probably start to, add more things and tweak things up a little bit more. But I think you get the idea of where we're going with this. So in this exercise, we sandwiched a lens flare between the foreground and background, and then we added some particle light over the top of the entire thing too, just to help tie everything together and unify our green screen element with our background element. In the next exercise, the final part of pulling the perfect key, we're going to be returning to Primatte Studio and revisiting edge details and how we can avoid having sharp differences between foreground and background elements and try to tie everything back in together. But that's coming up in part 6. My name is Ben Brownlee for Boris FX. Thanks for joining me so far, and I will see you in the final part of pulling the perfect key in Avid. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, consider hitting the like button. It really makes a difference. If you have any interesting war stories about terrible green screens, then please leave them below. To learn more about Primatte Studio or any of the Continuum filters, then be sure to visit borisfx.com.